Hi, good afternoon, and welcome to Nigeria Now, your program where we keep you updated with the happenings in Nigeria. Quite a number of things are happening, from the issue of the outrage coming from subscribers of telecoms that their SIM was blocked, down to the issue of protests, where we're seeing some are saying we should go on protest, others are saying no, there should be no protest, as we're seeing that the federal government is, pulling certain strings to see if they can stop Nigerians, in as much as they say that Nigerians have the right to a peaceful protest, as well as we're seeing other issues happening. So we would love you to be part of the show. Drop your comment, drop your views on Facebook and on YouTube. I'm Seda Elisha, and I'll be doing the program with Rachel Tansey. Good afternoon, Rachel.
Afternoon 7.
All right, without much waste of time, let us move straight into the discussion for today. And we will be starting with the fact that the president have signed in the new minimum wage into law, talking about the new wage, which is 70,000 naira. And we're seeing where the Senate president is saying that every worker is entitled to that, including domestic workers. And there have been jubilation and joy coming from labor, of course, because they're excited with this whole thing. In as much as Nigerians will be accepting this money with mixed feelings, I believe. And the question will be, when would the payment start? Are they going to backdate it, or are they going to start paying from August? Of course, I know even core members just cannot wait to know what will be our new allowance. Would it be 73? Would it be 77? I mean, you need to hear core members. They are more eager about this
Yeah.
than any other person. But I mean, you are not going to blame people looking at the hardship presently in the country. Of course, everybody will be looking forward to that. We're seeing operational private sector telling the president not to forget his what he promised, and then we're seeing that Senate is saying that the 6.2 trillion naira supplementary budget will be what will be used to pay this new minimum wage. So of course there is this joy, of course, and there's mixed reaction. I mean, we're seeing even the federal government telling us that now a bag of rice is 40,000 naira, so we
Yeah.
should be excited, as well as they're calling on Nigerians to, I mean, we're doing something. So whatever plan you people are having, please just share it to the side, because we're trying our best. But I recall you saying something in the morning. It shouldn't be about Nigerian workers by gaining what is rightfully theirs, because it's more like, you work for something and then you are being blackmailed. It's either you do this, or I'm not going to pay you your money, or because I'm paying you
Yeah.
your wage, and then you shouldn't. But then, I mean, it is what it is. Right now the new minimum wage have come to stay, and I believe Nigerians fingers are crossed, because this new minimum wage will be reviewed in the next 3 years rather than 5 years. So this is something worth celebrating, and also worth discussing about.
Of course, if the federal government is trying to use signing the minimum wage bill as kind of a way to
Mm,
calm down Nigeria, then it's a weak move. In the sense that we are very well aware that, you know what, it's not every Nigerian that is a civil servant. So automatically we are just looking at a fragment of the citizens of this country being able to have an increase in their minimum wage. We see where the operational private sector are saying they would need help from the government to be able to pay this minimum wage. And we know that apart from government teachers, for example, this minimum wage does not refer to the vast majority of teachers in this country. And we know that as it is currently, we have more private secondary and primary schools
mm,
than government owned
true.
secondary or primary schools in the country. So when you look at it, this excitement is very little when you look at the people that this goodness, if I must put it like that in code,
Mm,
will affect is only but those under the government payroll. We are even only searching for those under the federal government payroll, but what about those at the state government, where we are seeing certain governors struggling
mm,
for years, not being able to implement 30,000? We're now looking at 70,000
true.
naira. The point is, if the government is thinking that 70,000 naira minimum wage, now for sure we know that the new minimum wage in Nigeria is 70,000 naira. It's a bill, it's going to be implemented. You saw where labor is saying, of course, it starts in May. The federal government never respond to that, but also it is the responsibility of labor to ensure this was supposed to be at the first quarter of the year, and the federal government cannot go back on their word. So yes, by virtue of an agreement, it's supposed to be backdated, but then we would have to wait and see if the federal government will keep to their own side of the bargaining regarding the date for when the minimum wage was implemented or is to be implemented. But then this cannot work, because now what about the others that are not under the federal government, that have no chance whatsoever of seeing 70,000 naira as their minimum wage? What about the workers that are being exploited under private companies, industries, and manufacturers that are still paying workers 20,000? What about companies that are not employing the much needed hands and people are running 2 shifts instead of 3 shifts and all of that? What about all of the people which we know are the majority of our population? What about traders in the market, seller, that have no minimum wage? They are dependent on market factors to help them make gains and profit. And I believe that this is where, seller, the government is really out of touch with the situation, that when you sit down and look at it, you realize that the problem of Nigeria goes beyond the minimum wage, that there's so much that needs to be done. And this is what people are crying about. What about small, medium scale businesses that are suffering, that the market is not okay for them because of the exchange value, because of the hiking electricity and tariff, because of the many, many things that the government is putting out there that is directly or indirectly affecting businesses and all of that? What would these independent or self-employed people in this country do when the good news of minimum wage doesn't come to them? Because now they are also in the position to have to pay others and pay themselves and all of that. And when we talk about the rise, I believe that the federal government, and I started saying that in the morning, I said it's high time they stop, because nothing they're doing right now doesn't come out as aggravating. I believe that every attempt the federal government is making to calm Nigerians is backfiring. Why? Because certain things you find it coming out more aggravating than calming, in the sense that you have the capacity to slash down the prices of rice in the market, the bag of rice in the market, and you didn't do it for all these while leaving Nigerians going to bed hungry, leaving people becoming hoodlums and tyrants, stealing, loitering, breaking, vandalizing, stealing government properties and all of that, palliative, all of that, just to be able to survive and eat. And then now you show how intentionally wicked you are, to see that what you could have done months ago, the calmness that you should have brought regarding food into the country, you didn't do. You have to wait till Nigerians are telling you, we will not sit at home, we will work out, then you're doing what you need to do. It shows how intentional the government is in turning their eye away from the concerns, away from the hardship that the country is going through. And then the question is rice our only problem? Because it is not.
Maybe because that is the most consumed food, and that's why the government is concerned. But I remember there was a time, before, I think, is it before or during the negotiation of this new minimum wage, we raised a concern with the fact that, okay, it's one thing for the government to pass this into law, and you started a conversation talking about private institutions or private bodies that take advantage and exploit their workers. Now, I am expecting, since this new wage has been passed into law, so that is to say it has come to stay, we need a body that will as well follow up to make sure that it's been implemented.
Yes.
We need a body that will go down to all of these private institutions, private organizations, and bodies to make sure that this 70,000 naira gets to everybody. I cannot recall where the federal government is saying that this 70,000 naira is only meant for those who are working under the umbrella of private workers. Of course, we know that we saw it was labor that were there, but let's not forget it wasn't only labor. We saw even trade union being part of it, apart from the fact that the OPS refused to be getting themselves involved because they know that to some extent, it's more like they'll be at the losing end if they should join in that negotiation. But I believe and I'm hoping that the government, it's one thing for you to pass this, but just like you rightly said, even when it was 30,000, we had even government bodies, local government areas that were still on 18,000 naira. Just recently, we saw one of these southeast countries, states, sorry, where it was just recently they were passing 18,000 naira, not even 30,000 naira. So you could really tell that it's one thing for the federal government to be high over there, pass the bill, but then how about a body that mission has been implemented and that every other person gets carried along? So that I remember when governors were saying that it should go back to your state level, like it won't be fair. Imagine your friend calling you from Lagos and saying, "Do you know how much I earn?" And then you be here, down here, and you just can't help but wrap your head around the fact that, but we're giving the same work hours, we're giving everything together.
Yeah.
So why should someone be getting a different pay? So we'll just keep our fingers and know that this is worth celebrating, and we hope that all will be done well. Now, still in line with the issue of the protests, we're seeing that the IGP have ordered his officers to protect protesters. And I remember yesterday you said, I mean, we're beginning to see, just few days to the main day, we're beginning to see the change of body language coming from our, security agency. And you just can't help but wonder what happened. Did they have a change of mind? Did somebody call them? Did somebody let them know? And I recall we've been saying that the protest is not just because a particular body is suffering. The protest is because the entire country is decay.
Yeah.
And we need something to be done about it. We're going on protest, or Nigerians rather are going on protest because they feel that, things are not working as they should be. Of course, the government must have reduced the rice to 40,000, but just like you asked the question earlier, is rice the only issue we are having?
Of course.
How about power for small and medium enterprises that did not have power? We're still having queues. Fuel station right now in Lagos, Abuja, and other parts of the country, there are queues. In fact, here in Plateau State on Sunday, I clearly remember seeing queue even though there was no fuel in some of the filling station. So you could tell that there are a number of things that are not going well, and we saw yesterday where Peter Obi is saying, I know the sponsors, and the sponsors are hunger as well as hardship. When someone is hungry, he gets angry. But of course, sometimes when you are hungry, you don't even have the strength to protest. So a number of things need to be done, but I'm happy that the IGP is really seeing reasons why, is Nigeria's fundamental human right to come out and protest if things are not working out well. It's in the constitution. Nobody can stop you. You are not breaking any law, except when we see people taking the drastic measure, breaking of government property. That we can back the government and say he or she, whoever does that, should be put behind bar. But then we're saying that here the IGP have told his, officers, please protect these protesters. So I'm happy to see that if there is a protest in the next 2 days, we should be sure that we'll be seeing security operatives round to protect. We'll be seeing deployment, about 30,000 civil defense, and we're seeing a lot of recruitment. In fact, right now for people who are living in Abuja, Lagos, and Georgia, you will tell that the number of security agents you are seeing is kind of frightening.
The army trooping into
exactly. So you wonder, is something wrong? Why don't we have this number? Is it because of the protest we're seeing this number? But then, it is what it is presently.
Sele, when you talked about security personnel trooping into the state, and we see soldiers, we see army, and then I just can't help but wonder if they're up against Boko Haram terrorists, because we don't need you where civilians are whatsoever. If the police are not having the capacity to deal with civilians, then they are incompetent and they have failed. And this also takes us back to the fact that the IGP, the police force in general, have failed with the approach in which they have been talking or treating Nigerians, because you are not in the position to sound like the government. You are not in position to warn civilians. You are not in that position to tell Nigerians what to do or not. What your responsibilities are is what you are talking about right now. That you will protect lives, you will protect properties, you will make sure that everybody out there is safe. You will make sure that a good common man out there holding their placards don't get injured, don't get taken advantage of by any other person that is trying to do the opposite. This is supposed to be your stand from the beginning. For whatsoever reason, you are supposed to be underground doing your own covert operation, going through and trying to stop illegal activities. You stop it until you have such success, then you come out and tell Nigerians, you know what, we found a group that had an ulterior motive regarding this protest, and we're able to neutralize them, stop their plans, and we are assuring you that one group that was meant to cause trouble is out of the way, and then you move. Because what are you supposed to do? You were put in your office to protect civilians, not to tell civilians what they are to do and what they're not supposed to do. Stay on your lane and let Nigerians stay on their own lane, because everybody knows their role and duty to play in this country and all of that. So yes, it's better seeing the IGP sounding like this, and we hope to see that Nigerians will cooperate with them, and we also hope to see a maximum cooperation also from the police and all of that.
Of course, this is a time where we will see the collaboration between both bodies, because I mean, we know that by the virtue of their uniform, none of the security men can protest.
They
But that is
can't.
why you have Nigerians to protest
have-
on your behalf,
yeah.
because if things work out well, you
You
benefit.
benefit from
I mean,
it.
we've had number of callers calling in talking about the pension of all of these retired
Exactly.
security agents, and you just can't help but wonder why they're being treated that way. And this is all part of bad governance and corruption, and that is why we're having things this way. So I believe that if things turn out well, everybody gets to smile.
True.
I mean, everybody gets to be excited about it. But then, until then, let us make sure that the police, the IGP, he should give all the directive that is needed to protect everybody. Now, we're seeing in the midst of all of this, Nigerians, as of Sunday, and then we woke up with the fact that they're unable to make calls, they're unable to access social media, they're unable to do anything with their SIM cards because the SIM was being blocked. And then yesterday, I mean, you needed to see various parts of the country. Initially, I thought maybe it's just a little of the people I knew, but then looking at the pictures, you could tell that it seems as if everybody had an issue in every state, because it's either for those, there were, of course, there are genuine people who actually link their SIM with their need, but then still they actually were affected, and then there were people that never did that and were still affected. And then we saw that some subscribers took it upon themselves in Lagos, precisely Festa, where we saw them, you know, trying to break down some of the MTN barricades and all of that. And then because of that, nationwide right now today, MTN have shut down their shop. So we do not know when they will be operating. They will open again, but I mean, this is just in a way of them trying to protect themselves as well as trying to protect back. Of course, we saw where the Nigerian Communication Commission gave the directive for them to reactivate again. So I mean, I remember you saying the morning, you know, of someone whose line is already, you know, functioning. So that I need to say more people, their line has been activated actually. But then, you know, I really felt that was really bad for subscribers who have to do that. Of course, I know there's this pain and all of that, but I mean, that wasn't the right way coming from those subscribers who decided to take the law into their hands by breaking down their property. And I believe that the security agents will make sure that they actually collect the right punishment deserving for that. But then, as it is presently, MTN have to shut down their offices nationwide because of all of this. So hopefully, let us see when they will open up and then start operation again.
So the Nigerians need to understand that everything that happens regarding consumers and service providers, that is the
Yes.
telcos, is under the directive of the Nigerian government and by the Nigerian government through the NCC. And any company that will play with or would allow themselves to be played or used in Nigeria's politics would end up being wounded, because we saw what happened in Lagos, how they have to not open their offices and all of that. Who is losing right now is you, these telecommunication companies, and then you are a private company, precisely, even if you're operating in Nigeria. And that's why I just can't help but smile that if you allow Nigeria to play its politics with you, you will be the one at the receiving end. At the end of the day, you'll be the one losing billions, because MTN, Globalcom, Airtel, Etisalat, Nine Mobile rather, can't block Nigerians' lines on their own. If it is due to NIN and SIM registration, it is the directive of the NCC. If it is concerning BVN, the NCC have to approve of that, even if it is through banks, before you do this. And even if they must block our lines due to failure, it has to be directed from the NCC. They don't just operate however they want to, because they are under an organization, they are under a body that watches over them and decides what they do with our lines as Nigerians. So if the NCC is coming out and acting as if they are the heroes of the day in the first place, you are the reason that our lines got blocked in the first place, and causing all of these problems and chaos, because no telco will wake up and just who brought about the registrations for the NIN and the SIM in the first place. We are looking at the NCC. This is all their directives, and of course these telcos have to, because in the first place MTN are here to give you service, to make their profit and move. Any other thing regarding our NIN, linkage with SIM, regarding BVN, are all directives from the government, because MTN don't have, is not, they are service provider, they are what they are. Globalcom are service provider, they are what they are. Any other thing extra is from the Nigerian government, because they need data from these telecommunications, they need information, they need everything, they need to be able to have some amount of control over Nigerians. So I just hope that with the move from the federal government, that's why I keep saying everything. If it was a legit problem, if the reason behind the blockage of anybody's SIM card was a legit problem, then why are you unblocking it? It means that person has failed or is at fault. A criminal, you can even put it at that, because what are you hiding? Why have you refused to follow this directive? Then why are you unblocking it? Why are you not leaving it that way? Why are we not moving on? Why are you not coming out to tell us, okay, it's a failure as a result of this, and for that reason we are still working on it until you do this before you understand, Sele? And these things, for me, they are plain and direct. It's not that difficult to understand where the problem lies or where it's coming from, except if you just decide to turn your eyes and from it and just pretend like nothing is happening. So it's tiring, all of this back and forth in this country.
Of course,
Yes,
because
and
just like you state,
yeah.
there are processes, there are procedures to all of this, and I mean, we can't just have this telecommunication jumping the federal
of course
government
not.
or the government precisely, and they're going ahead to block, I mean, subscribers. I mean, I think I saw on social media somebody was talking about we also even have to go to the fact of the multi-choice subscriber. I remember you making
Exactly.
a choice, trying to make a point where you said we need to start pay as you view,
Yeah.
because we're beginning to pay for things that we don't even view, and this is all have to do. So MTN and multi-choice, they are one and the same, because they
Of
are owned by
course.
the same government.
Yeah.
So I hope that the government will also look at that in that point, because it's really, really frustrating. And if you ask some people, I feel that, or personally right now, I feel that MTN is locking down their offices because of the protests.
Of course.
They are just trying to safeguard their
They
property,
have
just in
to.
case anything will
Yes.
happen. I think this is just a move coming from them because of what they actually saw yesterday. I believe that they are just trying to play safe, so that is why they are closing down. But I believe that any right thinking Nigeria will not attack any government facility,
We hope
because
not,
that
yeah.
is not the aim.
Yes.
The aim for the protest is just to let the government hear the cry of the people, do the right thing, and that is just it, and not to destroy any property. And I'm happy the police will be there, so anybody that is caught doing anything that is not right, they have themselves to blame for it. Well, I think that's how far we can go. Thank you, Rachel,
You're
for doing
welcome,
this.
Sele.
As well, thank you to our viewers and every other person who made the program a success. We look forward again to doing this tomorrow. Do have a great day ahead.